Hello everyone, I'm doing a video and it's not an unboxing, can you believe it? I was always trying to find like book tags that I could do that didn't revolve me like ripping apart my entire bookshelf to find the books that I was after, and then I watched Jack Ben Edwards' latest video, which is the mid-year freakout tag, which is where you're halfway through the year and you look at all the books you've read and the books coming in the following year. And you just kind of chat about your stats, books you've read and liked, books you've read and disliked, and I thought I could do that because I can put a little picture of the book here so I haven't got to like hunt around to find it. And it sounded like fun, so I thought let's try that. So we're going to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I obviously film on my phone, so I have my laptop here, so I have my story graph in front of me because I cannot remember every single book I've read this year because my memory is like a sieve. And also so that I can see the questions. The funny thing is though, this is the mid-year freakout tag. So everyone's like, oh my god, I have to meet my goal by December. We're halfway through the year already. I didn't set a reading goal this year because last year my reading goal stressed me out too much. So this year I'm just reading what I want, when I want. And I'm really enjoying it. And that's not me being like, oh, pretentious. Don't worry about reading goals. They're like far too good for me. But no, I totally get why people need reading goals or use reading goals. That's totally fair. But for me, I was like putting too much pressure on myself. So this year I was like, I'm just going to read however many books I read. It is what it is. And I'm actually really enjoying it. And I feel like I've been very productive with my reading because I'm juggling my reading and my writing and going to theatre and going to work. It's been good. It's been a good year for reading so far, I think. Touch wood. There's literally a bookshelf behind me and I still touch my head. I'm going to have a look at my stats on Storygraph. So this year I have read 28 books, which is actually impressive. I didn't think it was going to be that high of a number. And my most commonly read mood is emotional, followed by reflective, followed by adventurous, followed by light-hearted, and then sad, hopeful, dark, mysterious, and then funny is the smallest one. Okay. Oh no, sorry, inspiring is the smallest one. Okay, fine, I'll take that. Apparently I like reading emotional books. I like to make myself cry. That sounds pretty accurate for me. I've mainly read medium-paced books. I've not read any fast-paced books yet. Slow-paced books yet. Most of my books, 64% of them have been between 300 to 499 pages. I've read 11% of books this year that have been above 500 pages. I'm quite impressed about that because I have a really bad attention span. So like big books intimidate me. Wow. Okay, so my most read genres are YA, contemporary, and then historical and fantasy and LGBT. The least read has been comics, crime, horror, sci-fi, and magical realism. Okay, well, I apparently like YA contemporary. I didn't think that I was going to say I didn't think I was a YA person. I thought I was just like adult fiction person. But I guess a lot of the books I read can be both. So like, I'm just thinking Stardust Thief, which is technically YA fantasy, but it's also adult fantasy, so I guess a lot of my books kind of have a crossover. I don't know. Who cares? You read what you want to read. You want to read middle grade? You read middle grade. You want to read comics? You read comics. As long as you're reading, you read. You live your best life. I have read two authors, like multiple books by two authors this year, and that is Angie Thomas and Alice Oseman. I wonder why I've read so many Alice Oseman books this year. I say that two is not really a lot, is it? But I'd already read Heartstopper last year, so this year was just her books. Anyway, that was fun. And oh, apparently, wow, I've given out 13 5-star reviews this year. And 7 3-star reviews. I've given out 13 5-star reviews. I'm normally so, like, picky with who gets 5 stars. I'm quite surprised at that. Anyway, now we'll get on to the questions. I was just getting nosy and wanted to read my stats because I find that really interesting. And I use Storygraph for that if you're wondering what I use to track my reading. I don't use Goodreads anymore because it gets on my nerves. So I use Storygraph instead. I know there's a way for you to like follow me. I don't really know what it is, so it'll probably be in the description of this video because that will be the best way to find out what I'm reading. Okay, so the questions. What is the best book I have read so far this year? Best books I've read this year. For all these questions actually, I'm going to use books that I've read for the first time this year. So if there's a book I've read before but I reread it again this year, I'm not going to include that. I'm just going to include books that I've read for the first time this year. Ariadne is a really strong contender, or Daughter of the Moon Goddess, or the Stardust Thief. Oh, this is tricky. Or maybe also City of Girls. City of Girls, Ariadne, or the Stardust Thief, I think. One of those three. Okay, what is like What is the best book I've read this year? I think it's got to be one of those three. I can't choose between those three. I'm saying Ariadne, The Stardust Thief, and City of Girls. Ariadne, Stardust Thief and City of Girls are my three best books I've read this year because they're all really different in genre. So Ariadne is a ancient history retelling. The Stardust Thief is a YA/adult fantasy retelling of Arabian Nights, the first in a new trilogy. And then City of Girls is like a historical fiction, and it's like a character-led book. And they're all so different, but they've all been so well written, and the world building's been great, the character development's been really good. They've all been books that reminded me why I loved reading so much. So to choose between those three is really hard for me. So yeah, those three are my best books that I've read this year. What is the best sequel I've read so far this year? Have I read any sequels this year? Let's have a little look. Have I read any sequels this year? I don't think I have. I've read a lot of series for the first time this year, but I don't think I've read a sequel. I've read City of Ashes, but I've read that before because it's a sequel to Mortal Instruments. But I've not read any other sequels. So I guess City of Ashes wins by default. I haven't read a sequel yet. What am I reading now? Lost Apothecary, that's not a sequel. City of Ashes, you win by default. A new release you haven't read, but you are excited for. Does that mean a release that's out? Or a release that is coming out? Because a release that's out that I've not read yet, yeah, I'd say this Woven Kingdom or The Book of Night. Those two are the ones that have come out already this year. Did they come out this year? They definitely came out in 2022, yeah. Those are two books that are already out from this year that I've not read yet that I'm excited for. Those two, because I like Holly Black's writing, but The Cruel Prince to me was a bit too young in terms of the writing style. So I'm really excited to read her first adult book, I think. And then this Woven Kingdom, Tara Maffey, I'd read her shopping list, to be honest, because I love her writing style, so I'm really excited to read that this year. And they are both new releases this year that have come out, so that's the first part. I'm going to answer for books that are yet to come out that I'm excited for as well. And that book I'm most excited for is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong, because I loved These Violent Delights. There is Our Violent Ends there. I loved These Violent Delights, and Foul Lady Fortune is I think based off a character from These Violent Delights. Chloe Gong's writing is incredible, like her storytelling and her world building and just everything about the way she writes books really brings the story to life, and I'm really excited to read what Foul Lady Fortune will be about. So yeah, that is a book that is not out yet, that is coming out this year, that I'm really excited to read. I don't know if that was coherent in any way at all. I hope it was, but we'll see. What has been my biggest disappointment book this year so far? Oh, is there any book that's really disappointed me this year? Yeah, Malibu Rising. I'm sorry, that really disappointed me. I got so bored. So basically, I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I enjoyed that book. I did. So I bought Malibu Rising, and we read Malibu Rising for my local Waterstones book club pick. And it started off really good. I really enjoyed it. I loved the flashbacks of their mum when she was growing up and the mum's turbulent relationship with the husband. I loved reading the build up to the party, and then the party kicked off and I was waiting for this big like secrets will be revealed. I was like, oh my god, what's it going to be? I was like, oh, the house is on fire, how's that going to happen? And it was just really disappointing, and I read the book and I was like, great. So I feel like I've just wasted a few days of my life reading a book that I don't really care about. So I'm really sorry if you love Malibu Rising, just didn't do it for me. That was my biggest disappointment of this year so far. There's still time. What is your biggest surprise so far this year? Well, that's a good question. What is my biggest surprise this year? Because I knew I was going to like the Stardust Thief before I even read it, I think. Does it have to be a good surprise or a bad surprise? I read Mexican Gothic, and I didn't like nor dislike that book. I was just extremely shocked at the plot twist and how everything was revealed in that book, because I don't know what I was expecting to be the reason for all the stuff that happens in that book, but whatever I was expecting, that reveal was not it. So that surprised me, if I can say that. What book surprised me apart from Mexican Gothic? I'd say City of Girls, actually, because I kind of went into that thinking, oh yeah, it'll be alright, like it'll be a nice read, and I was actually like, oh my god, this is so good, this is so real. So I really enjoyed that. The issue of not reading a lot of books this year is that you have limited options. Who is your favourite new author? My favourite authors are Marcus Zusak and Elif Shafak because they are incredible writers. But obviously, like, saying a favourite author is kind of tricky when you've only read 1 or 2 books by them. Whereas by Marcus Zusak and Elif Shafak, I've read a lot of books. But I would say maybe Chelsea Abdullah, who wrote The Stardust Thief, because her writing style and her world building and just the attention to detail is incredible. But also Jennifer Saint, who wrote Ariadne, because the way she brought that ancient historical myth into the 21st century and the way she retold that story in such an emotive way, both those authors I can easily see becoming new favourite authors. I need to read more of their books to be able to judge that properly, but just off their first books that I've read, I could easily see that happening. So yeah, I'm going to say Chelsea Abdullah, author of The Stardust Thief, and Jennifer Saint, author of Ariadne. Favourite new characters? The entire cast of The Stardust Thief. Luli, Layla, whatever you want to call her. That was a spoiler, wasn't it? You're not supposed to know her name's Layla. Luli/Layla in The Stardust Thief. I love her. Aisha, I love her as well. Ahmed, he did not deserve what he gets in The Stardust Thief. No spoilers, but oh my god, Ahmed. Do you know what? I'm just going to list every character at this rate. The entire cast of The Stardust Thief, I love them so much. But also, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. That was such a good book. Oh my god, it's middle grade, but it was so good. I literally cannot wait for the sequel next year. Next year? I think it's next year. Or is it this year? I'm going to Google it right now. But that book actually, like, stole my heart. So yeah, Amari herself, I love her. She is one of my new favourite characters. I love her so much, and I just want the best for her. So yes, the entire cast of The Stardust Thief and Amari from Amari and the Night Brothers, they're my new favourite characters. Oh, it's out this year! It's out in 2 months! Let's go! I can't wait to read the sequel! There you go, that's a book that I can't wait for the sequel for. Amari and the Night Brothers sequel. I thought it was next year. Nope, it's this year. A book that made you cry. Many books. Ariadne had me sobbing. They Both Die at the End had me sobbing. The Kite Run I've read before, but it had me sobbing. Felix Ever After made me cry. Loveless really made me cry. Good gracious. I'd say the one that made me cry the most. Loveless was for a different reason. I'd say Ariadne or They Both Die at the End, which is really ironic because you know how both books are going to end. If you're reading Ariadne, you probably know how her story ends because it's an ancient history tale and it's not new. And in They Both Die at the End, the title of the book is They Both Die at the End, and yet still I was there crying my eyes out at the end of both of them like I didn't see it coming. So well done, Layla, smooth. So yeah, those books that made me cry this year. A book that made you happy. The Stardust Thief. I know I feel like a stuck record saying that book, but honestly, it made me feel represented because it's a retelling of a Middle Eastern story, 1001 Arabian Nights. It was a retelling of that, so I was like, oh, this makes me happy. Also, I really liked Aisha at Last because that was a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I really enjoyed that. That made me very happy and content. Books like They Both Die at the End did not make me very happy because it was a very sad book. I enjoyed it, but it didn't make me happy. Salam with Love, oh my god, I read that during Ramadan and that was such a heartwarming story. It's just about a girl coming to terms with herself and who she is and her faith and her family, and it's about her celebrating Ramadan with her family, and it was just so pure, and oh, I loved that book. I feel like you're supposed to give one answer per question, and then there's me giving 3 and going off on a right rambling spiral, but that's fine. The most beautiful book you have received or bought this year? Oh, now that's the kind of question I don't like because I like to see my books to know which one's really pretty. And I don't know, can I get this Woven Kingdom out without bringing my entire bookshelf down? No, okay. So the prettiest book I've bought this year is this Woven Kingdom, but the Illumicrate edition, which is there. I am not putting that out without bringing down my entire bookshelf. So I'll put a picture of the Illumicrate edition here. Tell me it's not really pretty. But also, a strong contender is my Fairy Loot edition to Stardust Thief, which I will also put here because I don't want to pull my bookshelf down to go get it. But also, Ariadne is so pretty. Is Ariadne behind me? No. Ariadne is so pretty. I have the hardback one in blue and the paperback one in white. And just those leaves and the foiling and the bow. Oh, I love a pretty book. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but if the cover is also stunning, you're on for a winner. So yes, those 3 books that I've just put pictures of here, if I hopefully have done that right, are the prettiest books I bought this year. And then the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Preferably more of them than I have here. But a book I definitely need to read by the end of this year is The Ballad of Never After, which is a sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I need to read that this year. Foul Lady Fortune. I really need to read Foul Lady Fortune. I need to read that this year. I'm sure there's loads of books I need to read this year. I also really need to read, I need to get my arse into gear and actually read the next 2 books in the Prison Healer series. I read the first one and I loved it. The second one is right there and it's looking at me. Oh wait, you can't see it. It's opposite me. And I haven't read it yet. And I need to read it. That's the second book in the Prison Healer series. And the third one comes out this year. And I haven't even read the second one. I'm going to edit this video now and hope that I can actually put the covers of the books there. Otherwise, this will be a really boring video. And you might not actually see it at all. Because I will just delete it and pretend I never filmed it. But hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to edit a video properly. I hope you're all having a lovely day. I hope you're all as happy and healthy as you can be. I am sending you all lots of love. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.